This time on Whatever We Want, we talk about
me. So we talk about me, my story, and media that has inspired me. What inspired me to go the direction I did.
There are time codes down in the description if you'd like to jump around to different points in the episode. Enjoy! Welcome back to Whatever We Want, where we review content across all mediums of media, movies, TV shows, video games, and beyond to give you the most interesting behind-the-scenes insight, storytelling techniques, all that jazz, and more.
We cover everything from Disney, Pixar, DC, Marvel. Without further ado, let's get into it.
PreBanter, hello Daniel. I just saw you take a sip out of your Star Wars cup. That's a pretty cool cup.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it at Galaxy's Edge. It's one of their ceramic glass things. It's cool because it depicts the entire Battle of Endor.
Was it like $50?
I think this was like $30 actually.
Are you kidding me? That is so much closer to 50 than I would have thought it would have been.
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe 20. It is a really cool cup though.
Yeah, it's like all glass.
Okay.
Or ceramic, I don't know.
Well,
but it's glazed really cool. But yeah, thank you for noticing.
Yeah, that actually leads me into my first PreBanter bit. So, like a week ago, Star Wars on Life Day posted a Star Wars lo-fi hour-long YouTube video with Star Wars lo-fi music, and I don't know. So that was interesting.
I think my one boss was playing that when I was helping out the students. And I'm like, oh, This is cool. That's different.
Yeah, it came out and it's interesting because it's lo-fi, but to make it Star Warsy, they just include a faded Wookiee grunt in the background every once in a while. So it's just lo-fi chill music, and then I was just what? That kind of just took it out of me and made me kind of laugh. So
the sound there sounded more like Lego Yoda dying, but
yeah, I'm still a little sick, so that's maybe that was the sound bit they used, just Lego Yoda just dying over and over. They should make a song that's just like Lego Yoda dying over and over, but just pitched different ways. I would love to listen to that.
That has to be a thing somewhere. I would listen to that all day.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of, I don't know how to segue this. Yoda's green. You know what else is green? Green and red. The holidays. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It's not out when we're recording this, but by the time this episode goes out, it will have dropped. So that's exciting. I think the runtime's 40-ish minutes. James Gunn said
Really?
James Gunn said he wanted it to be the same length as the holiday specials he fell in love with when he was a kid. So I'm excited for that.
That's gonna be sweet. I thought it was only gonna be I don't know, 23 minutes, but
23 minutes exactly. That's pretty. I don't know.
I know, right? So weird.
It's 23 minutes or nothing.
But yeah, no, that's cool. It's gonna be that long. I'm really excited. I was already excited for it, but just knowing that it's gonna have that kind of same feel as ones that we also grew up with too. That's gonna be dope.
Yeah. All right, that's it for PreBanter. You ready to jump into the main segment of the week?
Yeah, let's jump into it, Jake.
So,
what is it this time?
I mean, you're gonna be running the show this time.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through and talk about the most impactful, influential media that inspired you, Daniel, to end up when you were younger into today, and then that led you kind of to the path that you're on now. So we're each going to do an episode where we each talk about the media that personally inspired us. I'm sure there will be some overlap, but this is Daniel's episode. Mine will be not next week, but I think in a few weeks. So yeah. So without further ado, take it away, Daniel.
So I think a good place to start with this is going to be kind of explaining where I'm at now.
Yeah. I agree.
Where I'm at now, what I'm doing now, and then what were all the things that kind of led me to there. So what am I doing now? As you know, I've been working on my own game for a while now, and that's been over a year in the making so far. We're almost at the point of getting our demo to launch. It's going to be launching right before Christmas, so keep an eye out for that.
Yay.
But big point with that is what got me into game design. And bits and pieces, but I don't know if I ever explained to you all the different elements that kind of led up to me being this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I have my own company now, have been working on this game, have a small team. Jake helps me out here and there even with that. This all really started from my love of games and just having these different experiences. Jake, we gamed a lot growing up.
One might argue too much.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too much. But no, it led to a lot of good times with our group of guys because we're all creatives in our own way.
Yeah, the Blue Butter Bagels, our gaming group, gaming YouTube channel, actually turned 10. 10-year anniversaries from when I founded that channel a week ago. So,
and we're going to be gaming this weekend to celebrate.
Yay!
I kind of want to start off to where I started with games. For me, my generation was PlayStation 1 era. So I grew up with games like Spyro and
Ratchet and Clank. Is that later?
Well, Ratchet and Clank's more later.
Okay. So would you say Spyro is one that inspired you?
Yeah, I want to say Insomniac Games in general, like that development studio.
What specifically about them?
They know how to masterfully tell stories while also giving amazing gameplay experiences. For them, UX and the story are hand in hand, and they weave that perfectly.
What is UX again?
User experience.
User experience. Okay.
And that's important, especially for as things have developed further along with the technology, especially when it comes to VR. Because my game's a VR game, like it's something that I have to pay attention to all the time. Like, how does this feel? How does this work? This is kind of like the starting grounds of that, of like what makes these games feel good. I wasn't thinking about that as a kid, but I knew they felt good to play, and that's what also helped me play them a lot more. You know?
Yeah.
And of course, too, like as time went on, you know, like Lego games and like other like platformers, explorers, like in that genre, I was like naturally attracted to.
What specifically about them?
It's just the ability to be able to explore these different worlds.
So you like the world building? Because I think before you decided you wanted to do your own games, you said you wanted to do like environment art. Like if you were to be a cog in a machine, that's what the cog you would choose.
I would be making the world. So I'd be doing environment art stuff.
But you didn't want to be a cog in a machine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to make my own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be able to go out and create and tell my own stories. But that realization didn't really come later.
Didn't come until later?
Yeah. So the real first big realization for me came when I was playing Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. This is second Ratchet and Clank.
Is that I never played that, but like are they just like underwearless the whole time?
I wouldn't know because they have armor on as well. So
maybe that's probably like the Easter egg or something. I would totally do that if I was like a game dev.
Well, talking about Easter eggs, this is something that Insomniac did for. That was the big realization for me was when I found in this game, it's called the Insomniac Museum, and it was like behind the scenes of how the game was made.
I just want to explain because I'm just for me to understand too. Like it's in the game. It's like a secret area you can go to that's called the Insomniac Museum, right?
Yes.
And what is the Insomniac Museum specifically?
So that's exactly what it is. It's just a secret area in the game to where it shows you all of like the behind the details, behind the scenes stuff that was going to be going into the game, stuff that was going to be put into it, that was cut, different tools that they had like particle effect editors and vehicles.
So yeah, what did the Insomniac Museum, like what was that specifically?
The realization there was as I was going through all these different tools and all these different things, seeing like how it was made, it made me realize like I can make games for a living.
Like there's people that do this, that have made this, that's the realization you had like when you saw that, like there's people making this. Yeah,
because you're so young at the time, you're just thinking like, oh yeah, this is a game that's out there. Like you're just consuming it. You're not really thinking about like all the steps that go into it.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely like a conscious thing you need to have, and that's definitely like a big moment, especially that you remember that. How old were you at that point?
Oh God. I mean, I was in middle school.
12 to 14 maybe?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So that's when you were like, I want to do games? Like, I want to, so that you decided that,
like, right there, I was like, I want to do this. I want to be able to create these worlds, create these experiences that I'm able to go over. Like, I would love to be able to create my own games where I can go to these different planets and do all these different things, which is, again, huge inspiration for current game I'm working on. But you get the idea. Like, it was so inspiring just to be able to be like, so it's possible. You know? Yeah. That's a big thing. It's possible.
I respect that. Like, after that, I've seen, like, you just throughout high school, like, you just like went after it yourself. Like you dove into the programs like Maya and just like learned how to 3D model, and like you definitely like got like a lot better, like your iterations of like lightsabers over the years. And like, again, like it takes like years to like hone a skill and a craft like that. And like you and I are definitely not like at the end of our journey, but it's cool. Like I've seen like you grow from that first point, like as you've been like discovering what exactly you want to do, like with specifically with modeling. I've seen the improvement like with your modeling over the years. It's cool that you've like kept at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I didn't actually start using Maya until college because I wasn't. I was able to like actually have access to it then. Also, I didn't know that was a software.
Right. I mean, I meant other 3D programs. Yeah.
But no, I have a funny story with this. There's a time in high school that I actually quit. There was a time to where I was, like you said, I was doing it very early on. I was like teaching myself and all that because high school's not going to teach you that stuff.
Yeah, or much.
So
what? School system?
What? No.
Quick tangent off that. I read something somewhere where it's like high school is like not necessarily so you learn how to do calculus. Like you're not going to use that in real life, but it's so you can like learn to problem solve and like
deal
apply
with BS.
Yourself to like situations that are tough. That like those are really complex problems, but if you can figure that out, that like problem figuring out process, you could apply it to other things. maybe they could have expressed that better, but I don't know.
I can actually get into that because as a teacher now and seeing like how the education system has changed, and like from the new generations of students are coming up. Oh yeah, dude, it's been changing a lot. Like a lot.
Okay. I mean, I know they're implementing more technology, but yeah.
No, just structure wise.
That's
like,
good.
It's not bad. No, it's bad.
Oh, I thought it was changing for the better. My bad.
No, it's not changing for better. It's getting worse. It's like instead of it being focused on problem solving, it's like
churning out employees pretty much.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like I was talking to Brittany about this one coworker, and she was telling me about some students that she has over at another school that she teaches at. I don't want to get too specific here, but there are times where they're just like, give me the answer instead of like, and they go to her like instantly instead of like say going to Google or going to like forums or like even like going to like the
especially with all the
software
tools
sites.
now, it's readily
it's all
available, like the
accessible.
information. That's interesting.
So it's stuff like that to where the psyche changes.
Yeah, I feel like attention spans are just like lowering too. That's a whole other discussion. Sorry, I mean hijack.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back to what you were talking about. You were about to talk more about like your journey and like you quit in high school.
So high school, I was doing 3D. I was using this crappy software called Cheetah 3D. And keep in mind,
yes, I remember you with Cheetah 3D. Oh my gosh,
dude, Cheetah 3D was so jank. It was because I had
the
Mac,
thing is though, you like every time you did anything, and I respect this. You were like, this is like the best thing I have ever done, and like look at all this thing I did, and it was really good for your ability at the time. But then like 6 months later, you were like, that was the crappiest thing. Look at this new thing, and it was like a cycle that I kept seeing. But I never wanted to be like, okay, Daniel, like I know, like I noticed it early on, but
that.
yeah. So I just think it was funny. Sorry.
But it's a learning process. I mean, it's a learning process.
That's why I didn't want to crap on it, because like I saw the process happening. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's funny to where it's taken me, because like a lot of my stuff grew from that. So like, and it's funny too, because a lot of it comes from like using the right tools. Like Cheetah 3D is not the right tool for 3D stuff at all.
Yeah.
One, it's not even on the like. I'm just gonna say Windows is better for when it comes to doing like anything like technically animation wise, or like really anything. I mean, OS or like Apple OS was good for like graphic design.
Yeah,
but like if you're doing more, you need something that's better.
Yeah,
I didn't really learn that until I got to college, but
more processing. Yeah,
taking a step back in high school, I remember I got to this point where I was trying to do something during one of those times, and there's this philosophy for artists where there's like this valley, and then there's like another tangent to like the artwork that you're seeing and your improvement. I forget what it's called. It's like your improvement curve or something like that. And there's a point in your curve to where you're improving, to where you're looking at other people's artwork and you're like, I know what I need to do that, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't have the hands for it.
I had that moment when I was doing the Illustrator stuff a couple days ago. I was doing like just messing around in Illustrator, and like it was cool. I was like, I want to make that, but like, and I have an understanding of Illustrator tools because I messed around with it for like a year during quarantine. I was diving into it, but like I still, for like 6 months, but like I don't have the ability still. So I relate to that. I understand to a little lesser extent for Illustrator, at least just for a hobby. But yeah.
But no, that's totally tangential. Like that makes sense. But for me, what it was I was so bogged down because I was getting to a point where I knew the terminology. I knew how to move polygons and everything, right? Like I could model, like I technically could model pretty good, but the software was holding me back.
Gotcha.
So I got to a point to where that was frustrating me so much. I'm like, this is crap. I'm done. If it's going to be this technical and problematic, then there's not a point.
And that's tough because then whenever you do get to Maya, you've been out of practice for a little bit, so you have to like relearn the wheel a little bit, which is probably also frustrating a little bit, especially because you're learning new software.
Well, it was kind of like that, but I remember the reason why I'm bringing this up, because this is an important lesson for a lot of artists, especially technical artists, is that I gave myself like a week and then I went back at it.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
the reason for that was because
it's a good break, I feel like, to have.
I systemically was like, I don't want to do this at that point. Like I was like out of it at that point, but like I took a break. I was gaming and I don't know, it just made me realize, like, if I really do care about this, if this is what I want to do, like I said those years ago, then I need to be able to push through, right?
Yeah, that's really good that you had that moment, because a lot of people quit, and I feel like a lot of people looking outside into like creative industries are like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows the whole time. And I think even when people get into it, that's often what it starts as. And it's tough when you realize, like, no, it's not. Like, it's really freaking hard work, but it can be rewarding. So it's about like figuring out, are you going to push through? I think it's a big moment. One other thing I do want to just mention really quick, Daniel, you and I are both like, I feel like we're at a point where we've definitely like discovered our passion, but we're still like at the very launch point of our career and still have like a lot of options down the road. And like, so we're definitely not like masters. I know we're like, and this is how, this is the media that inspired me and like got me to where I am now. Like, we're definitely not at the end. And like, I don't know if you want to take all of our advice or just like, we're just sharing our story up to this point.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our perspective will change in in like years or like however, like when we look back at this moment, 2020 hindsight and everything. So just want to like put that disclaimer up there, that like we've like, I feel like discovered our interests, and our interests could shift, which is totally cool, totally fine. But yeah, this is how we got to here, this moment. And that's the point we're at. So yeah, just want to put that disclaimer up here.
Again, it'll be like me like in high school, right? It's like a 2 weeks later, and I'm like, oh man, all my old stuff was crap. You know?
Yeah.
That's how we're going to be when we look back at this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I think that's just an important thing, is just to have that drive. If you want to be committed to it, you gotta be committed to it.
It's about drive. It's about power. The Rock's onto something.
And that's really what led me to then going into art school.
Was there no other like media before that inspired you? Like
no. Like there were other games and stuff. Like in high school, for me, like a lot of it was like Call of Duty was like really blowing up at the time. A lot of like mainstream games like that, but also like.
Do you think it was just games that was inspiring you? Were there any other mediums of media as well?
No, it was mostly games, because at the time too. I mean, there's like animated short films and like not short films, like movies, like like Disney was doing at the time, and that was also, I loved that. Again, like just growing up, I was always drawn to that rather than like IRL like live action stuff.
Yeah.
And then again, after the Insomniac Museum thing, I had those realizations, and like I started looking at things differently then. So that's kind of what brought that on. But really, yeah, like as much as I can appreciate, like Toy Story 2 and like other films that were along of like pushing the technicality of what animation can do.
Right.
For me, I've always wanted to focus on the experience. That was my main thing.
Okay.
The user experience for games is different. It's a different feeling for playing a game and like being in that world.
Because you're embodying the character and you're like actively participating. We talked about this a bit before about the difference between video games and movies. Yeah, in another episode.
And that's really important to me. I like actually being in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Because it's a cool experience.
Are there like certain games that like you really like being in the driver's seat, like the experience that they have given?
They have to be games that systemically like have everything looping together.
Like what?
Well, so like what I'm thinking about is like, again, like platformers. Like I love Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper is like the OG trilogy. That was, for its time, my idealistic perfect dream. Sucker Punch knew exactly what they're doing. And even when they pushed further into games like Infamous, right? They're using a lot of the same like methods to do a lot of the same stuff for when it came to, say, navigation, combat, stuff like that. But again, all these systems have to work together.
Sly Cooper is like the raccoon, like a spy, like stealth game.
Yeah, so Sly Cooper was the game where it's you're Sly Cooper, you're raccoon, and you're a thief. And you have your gang called the Cooper Gang. You have your brains, Bentley. He's like a little turtle guy.
The Coon and Friends.
Yeah. And you got the Muscle, which is Murray, and he's a hippo, right? But then later on in the games, right, you're able to play as the different characters, and they all have their different skill sets, and they're able to all do different things. Now I was like Sly the best because he was the one who's most mobile, most agile, and the levels were designed in totality for him to be able to get around. So like, that's what I mean. Like the total system for maneuverability was set up perfectly in that case.
Yeah,
and that's kind of experience that you want to have for players and just your audience in general.
Cool.
So that's something I wanted to focus on more as I got into more stuff other than just doing the 3D modeling.
Like the story and experience itself.
Yeah, like also in high school, before I even got to college, I was playing with Unity a good bit.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything crazy, but I was like making worlds.
Unity's like a game engine, like Unreal, but light kind of different than Unreal.
Well, it's a different infrastructure. So
Unity
is very direct script based. So if you know how to program with, I believe Unity's C#.
That programming language.
Yeah, Unreal Engine C++, as well as Visual Blueprints. So one of the reasons why I later transitioned to, I'll get into this later, but why I went more into Unreal was because I'm not a coder. I'm not really a dedicated programmer. Like I know in general how to make things work, but I'm not scripting it like word for word. Like I'm doing it with C++. I'm doing it visually in Unreal because I get that. It makes sense to me because I can see it. But beyond the point, in high school, I started playing with Unity, and that really opened up the doors for how do you play around with those experiences and how to
Yeah.
expand more with that. And really that was just the roots of it. From there, going into college, I really started getting into more of the tools, like Maya. Maya is like the industry standard from Autodesk. It's what Disney and Pixar used for whenever they were doing all their big films, and a lot of games used it. I was learning this stuff largely throughout college, right? Getting to that next level of understanding of how does this technology work and so on. And so my inspirations started to kind of change. It started from like the media that like inspired me and like, hey, how can I get to that? To then I was like, hey, what are other artists doing to get this certain look, right? Productivity wise. So like what I mean by that is like, hey, what kind of specific look or like what kind of specific artist is doing this and that and so on.
What is productivity?
Productivity.
Oh, productivity.
Not productivity. I'm not like giving a proctor speech here.
I didn't know you.
I am right now, but
so like other artists is what started inspiring you at this point, and like maybe not like specific games or projects, but like just individual artists and their styles, like on Sketchfab or something.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to bring that up. So Sketchfab, I love Sketchfab so much, and that's also when I started getting into that. I started posting my models on Sketchfab, which is a beautiful 3D online site, place to show 3D models, buy 3D models. It's a beautiful tool.
So nothing like Spider-Verse or anything like inspired you a lot at this point in the style?
Well, the Spider-Verse wasn't out yet.
In college?
Until like later college.
Okay.
Like, what, our junior year?
I don't know, something like that.
I'm talking about just getting into college. For getting into college is when I started really having those big steps to where I was focusing more on the technique. I guess I should say it like that. And how these other artists were using their techniques. Does that make sense?
It was our sophomore year for Spider-Verse.
Really? But yeah, so I guess I could talk about that then. So Spider-Verse also was kind of this perfect timing for me to where it was I mean, one, I've always been a huge Spider-Man fan. So that's just off the rip. I'm always gonna love it. I'm now learning at this point the fundamentals of animation. Like I was doing basic modeling and rigging and stuff like that before, but now I'm doing like actual like how to make stuff move properly.
Okay, so this was like in a good time for the extension of just your modeling and like the other aspects of game design in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Spider-Verse pushed so much with the genre.
Spider-Verse pushed that because I was getting an understanding like, hey, how does 3D work? How does this compare to 2D? And then Spider-Verse pushed that with, I know why I was thinking it was junior year, because junior year is when I went to SIGGRAPH. And when I went to SIGGRAPH, that's like an international group that does everything when it comes to regards to 3D, whether it be games, animation, technology, all of it. It's hosted like every other year in LA. And my junior year, right before COVID, we went. It was beautiful because there, I remember this so specifically. I was waiting for a Substance Painter demo, right? Because they're doing their new updates for Substance Painter, which is a tool for like texturing 3D models. I saw a lot of people going to this one convention hall, and I'm like, why is everybody going over there? I'm going to just go take a look quick. I'm okay with losing my spot in line. And I started hearing music. I'm like, that sounds familiar. And I remember I walked through the door, and all I saw was Captain America's shield, and all I heard was, bum, 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 bum.
Nice.
And it was, what was it? The Avengers breakdown, Endgame breakdown, happening in 2 minutes. I'm like, screw Substance Painter, I'm gonna watch this. So I was there for a good bit. And then right after that was Spider-Verse. And the thing with Spider-Verse was so beautiful because the Sony animation team was that they were pushing the art to a different level by using the tools in new ways.
Yeah.
They're using techniques from 2D, bringing into 3D and stuff like that. And again, that's all coming down to pushing the experience of how the audience is reacting. And I love that. Some of the techniques, like I was talking about before, was like, how do you have a animated character that's moving on twos, right? Move with a camera that's moving on ones.
So moving every other frame for moving on twos, and then moving on ones, moving on every frame.
Yeah, so if you have a frame here where your camera's here and your camera then moves over here, but your character's still not one spot, that means that character's gonna look like they're jittering, right? Because like they're not. That makes sense. So how do you get around that? So what they ended up doing was doing separate passes where they'd animate the camera on ones and twos and then have the different elements and versus like characters and environments then blended together that then make it work out so that we can have a 3D character animated on twos in a 3D space. So it's techniques like that was like really pushing it.
So Spider-Verse like inspired you because of the creative techniques that they were pushing and like thinking outside the box, really?
Yeah. It's taking the lessons from the old school and revamping it with new school. It's not just like, hey, screw the old rules, we're going to do something different. They're really taking these old techniques and figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah, they even did that with
that makes sense.
Depth of field. Like they didn't want to have a depth of field, so they still wanted to show that depth that way that wasn't drawing to audiences. So like, why is there no depth of field? So they did chromatic aberration. So it was like a little fuzzier in the background, but it like the things in focus, even though there was no depth of field of actual like blurry focus, what you normally think, they cheated their focus by like the things that were right in frame. There was no or very little chromatic aberration, which is like when there's a little bit of like light on either side, kind of. That's like a basic way to explain it. But in the background, the light like of different passes, kind of like we have 3D glasses on, was like very drastic. So it kind of gave an effect of depth of field, which is cool.
Yeah, no, even with how they were doing levels of detail in depth. Like, for example, you're not going to have fully 3D rendered and animated characters in the background, right? Say if they're like further down the street, like, I don't know, a quarter mile away. What they did is they were using like little blobs or just little lines that were just moving. Or for example, when it came to like buildings, right, and a lot of other like their interiors, they came up with this like master material to where it would have different elements moving within it, so that way they can just use that instead of having to animate or model every window.
Yeah,
it's like just these shapes that give the inflection that like, oh, there's stuff in there, you know.
All right, so you've talked about Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, and then Spider-Verse. Were those the only 3 that have like really profoundly impacted you or inspired you? Or is there any more media?
I'm gonna say profoundly, yes. There's obviously a lot of other inspirations, but those are like a lot of my roots. Okay. I think it's important to talk about the roots. It's easy to be inspired when you're looking at things through a certain eye.
That's a very good quote. Yes.
Like the other day, it's probably like about a year ago now.
About a year ago.
There's a lunar eclipse that was happening. To where it's going to become like a blood moon. So I'm outside, middle of the night, waiting for it because I love astronomy. I wanted to see it, right? But at the same time, it's super cloudy. I'm not able to see it. I'm looking at the timer too because, like, you know, with eclipses, you get like your max like, eclipse moment. And right when that hits, the blanket of clouds rolls away.
Nice.
And in that moment, you just got that nice clear red moon like out in the sky, and it's like it was such a unique image that I'm going to add it to my game now because it was
cool.
Something that's perfect for a setting that I want in my game.
Yeah, I think that's great. A great point to make of like not just taking inspiration just from other media, but like real life. I think that's like the best source of like inspiration is like you experiencing life and getting outside and doing stuff, you know?
Yeah. Which I need to do more of because I'm inside coding all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like my cross-country road trip was like also very inspiring. Like saw a lot of the country when I moved out here. So like, yeah, I just want to do more stuff like that. I have that itch.
Yeah. I have that itch just to get out. And I have that itch to like, you know, I could just leave right now and nobody know where I go. But like I could go experience things and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And you're like, nah, I can't do that. I need money.
Okay. Any other media that inspired you? You want to go over? Were you done with your discussion?
For Spider-Verse, I think that's a good way to kind of end that.
Yeah.
So I will say this, to summarize, just to end my story bits, right? Taking all these inspirations I have, and even, again, from that retrospective, like taking inspiration from things beyond just media, or even just how people do certain things in certain places. I knew I wanted to eventually have my own game studio. Like I went from like, hey, I want to have a part in making games to, okay, I have some of these skills and talents now, to how am I going to implement it?
Yeah.
And for me, for a long time, I was doing the usual thing where I was applying here, applying there, yada yada. I wasn't really getting anything back. I was getting to a point where I was like, is this even really what I want to do? Like doing it this way? Do I want to be like you said before, a cog in the machine? Or do I kind of want to do my own thing? I always have this vision, like, what would I regret if I didn't do, if I was like on my deathbed looking back at life and be like, hey, I wish I would have done that, right? I want to live a life to where when I do get to that point, I can look back and be like, I did it. I did it my way. I did it good. I'm happy with that. I'm at peace.
Yeah.
And for me, a long time with that vision, I was like, well, I want to have my own game studio eventually. Having my own experiences with people around me that have done their own startups and things not work out well later in their life. And it adds more, there's more to work with, right? Like you got family, you got other responsibilities to deal with when you're trying to start your own business. There's a lot more obligations with that. I was like, I should just do it now. After college is what I did. I was like, I'm going to start working on this project, see where it takes me, and go from there. I'm really hoping things go well in December when we get to the demo launch. It's received well, and that we can then have, again, that foundation set up so we continue to grow and just continue to create. That's really the dream at the end of the day.
Sweet. All right. Are you ready to jump into TTTT?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this time.
Well, sorry, I just wanted to say, like, I only say sweet, and that's my only thing about your whole thing. That's a really good speech, and like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of guts to like go after that yourself, especially like, at this point in life, especially because I know society's often like, oh, you should just like to play it safe and everything. So yeah, good for you, dude.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices that are being made. Even stuff like you know me, I'm a pretty jovial guy, and I don't let it hit me. But I'm sacrificing a lot of time. I'm sacrificing a lot of money. I'm sacrificing relationships. I'm sacrificing a lot of what people would certainly consider life for this dream right now. But I'm okay with that. That's another I think a good lesson to teach is that for anybody else who's like in a similar should be like, hey, I want to create my own studio. I want to do my own art. I want to do my own thing, right? You need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice to make this a reality? Because if you're not going to sacrifice anything, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. All right, now you're ready for TTTT.
Yes.
Did you know that Monsters University changed how Pixar lit their films forever?
Really? How so?
So, in the early days of Pixar, artists had to manually map out all of the reflections and place all of the shadows in a scene, which was extremely tedious. By the time Monsters University was starting production, the artists were getting very frustrated with the clunky technology. They wanted to spend more time implementing like creative lighting without having to fight the technology to map every individual shadow. So they completely overhauled their old lighting system and built a new one from the ground up. Pixar took the ray tracing techniques they used in Cars for the reflections and invented an entirely new system for lighting that automatically calculated and mapped the reflections and shadows produced from every light and surface. They called it global illumination, which is now the standard for all Pixar films and most other studios.
Yeah, other studios, other engines, even Unreal Engine uses that as well.
I can't emphasize, like, in the early days of Pixar, artists had to manually map out every single reflection and all the shadows in the scene.
You used to have to manually map out everything. Like, everything. Remember when Ed made the first model of a hand?
Yeah.
He had to map out every single vertex.
I'm listening to his audiobook actually right now when I drive into work, but he like literally, for Ed Catmull is like the founder of Pixar, but he is also like one of the forefathers of like computer graphics.
3D graphics, yeah.
So to do the first like 3D hand, which he presented at SIGGRAPH, that conference Daniel talked about, he put his hand in like mold, like a plaster mold, and then took it out. He said also that he didn't think to put Vaseline on his hand beforehand, so he literally pulled out every single hair in his hand to like be able to do this model. He's just thinking, like it's funny looking back, but like so then he like made this model of his hand, like this mold model. On it, he like put geometry, like put literally like, you know, in 3D models, like they put geometry, like polygons.
He had to map out every vertex in 3D space. So you have X, Y, and Z.
Manually recorded it and inputted it into the computer, which is just insanely tedious, but like a process that computers can like do instantly now. But like he had to like invent that, which is just so crazy. Yeah. It's crazy also to think that like, just for that Pixar thing, like everything before Monsters University, like 2013, they had to map out every shadow.
Every shadow.
That's insane. Like I know Monsters University wasn't like the best movie, but like it launched us forward with that technological advancement, which is really cool. All right, ready for the draft?
Yes.
Disney Renaissance films, baby. So I'm first this time because you did Turkey for Thanksgiving last week. My number one, gotta be The Lion King, bro.
Really?
Dude, it's just a great freaking story, but also the behind the scenes, like the production on Lion King was like such an underdog story because Disney didn't believe in it and they put their B team on it because they put their A team on Pocahontas and everyone thought Lion King was going to be a failure, but it made like this incredible piece of history. Top of my list for sure.
I'll give you that. I am going to say Tarzan.
Whoa, okay.
And I know that's a hot pick, but here's why.
That's fair. I not my top, but I respect it for sure.
Here's why I say Tarzan, because I believe it was the first one that started using 3D overlay animation for a lot of the stuff. So like when he's going through the trees, they're using 3D assets as like layered effects as he's going from like tree to tree.
I think Hunchback did some of that before that.
I think it was manually done then though.
Oh, okay.
I think Tarzan made it
so that exact process, but that's cool.
My one professor was from Disney, and he was the one who did that stuff. He didn't talk about Hunchback too, but I think that's what he said. Like it had to be done more manually with Hunchback because it was them like figuring out how to do it, and then Tarzan's where they were like, oh yeah, we can actually do this more effectively.
Cool. My number two is Aladdin. for Robin Williams alone, man.
Yeah.
Also, just like I like the story a lot. I feel like rewatchability, it would 100% be the one I would rewatch next after Lion King in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, I can give that to you.
All right.
I would say Hercules.
Interesting. For Danny DeVito alone.
I liked all the niche ones. Yeah,
You
Danny
did.
DeVito.
Yeah, the Russo brothers are making the new Hercules live action. Something was announced recently where they're like, they're trying to like, everyone's taking this one quote kind of out of context, but like they said like, oh, in this new generation where like everyone's like so focused on TikTok, like we're trying to inspire it to like be enjoyed by the TikTok viewers. And I think what they meant was like the musicals of TikTok inspired by and kind of like the retention, like get people interested in it. But everyone's like, they're making a TikTok Hercules, and everyone's like freaking out about it. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I think they're going to be fine. It's just it's going to be tough to compete with the OG here. Wasn't there like other like old Hercules movies like live action before this one?
Yeah, I think The Rock was Hercules once.
Yeah, so
I don't know. All right, next for me, I'm saying Beauty and the Beast, baby. The music in this, just the story in general. I was talking with some friends about this, but like the story of like Belle falling in love with this beast, like, and it's all about like what's inside. Like it's not about the external at all. I think that's just like such a cool message, and it's also about like Belle herself is also like kind of considered like an outsider in the town. She's like beautiful, but like no one appreciates her for her mind, but the beast does, and she appreciates the beast for who he is. So I love that.
You know, that's a great balance there with the characters. Yeah, no, that's a good pick.
Thank you.
I'm stuck between the next two.
Most of the Disney Renaissance films are like good, so like I feel like there's not gonna be many bad picks.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's why it's called the Disney Renaissance. There's a few.
There's one I'm looking at, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
but
I know. I know which one you're looking at.
Next, I'm gonna go with. I'm distraught between two. I'm gonna say Mulan.
Okay, that was gonna be not the next one, but the one after that for me. What do you like about Mulan?
Just again, like I agree with what you're saying with Beauty and the Beast. I love this development with the story with Mulan, with her like breaking the roles of what she's supposed to be.
Yeah,
and doing what she believes to be right. It's just very powerful.
The songs are good. Be a Man.
Yeah.
I think this is lower on my list just because I didn't watch it for the first time until the live action one was coming out, and I realized, oh, I've never watched this, so I don't have like nostalgia, like supporting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. For me, it was also that you gotta get Eddie Murphy in there. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, it's hard to top that.
All right, I will choose Little Mermaid then. Ariel was my first crush ever. I feel like this is a little lower on my list because like the third act with like giant squid.
Yeah.
Ursula. And also Prince Eric literally has a personality of like a plank of wood.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's great.
Okay, so for my next pick then, I'm going to say Pocahontas.
Really?
Yep.
I was not a huge Pocahontas fan.
Ultimately comes down to me remembering Pocahontas more than Hunchback.
Okay.
I feel like I've only watched Hunchback like once or twice.
I'll choose Hunchback. I also don't know if I've seen this the whole way through, but again, because like the 3D environments and stuff that they were doing, pushing that technology, and it's just I feel like it's like a different story, like a protagonist that's like, again, kind of like Beauty and the Beast, where like, but like he's like really like kind of disfigured and like a hunchback, and I know the core of the story.
A hero that's not meant to be a hero.
Yeah, and it's pretty good.
That. Yeah.
Some of the music, yeah. All right, your last one.
So The Rescuers. I have no idea. Hold on, what is this film even about?
I don't think I've ever seen Rescuers Down Under, which I know might be like taboo, but yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think we've seen it.
Wait.
It was 1990, so it was like...
oh yeah, this is the wrong film that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 1977 version.
Oh.
Wait.
All right, so that's your pick.
Oh wait, no, this is the same. Maybe I do remember this. Dude, I think I have seen this.
Is it good?
I don't remember. I just remember these mice.
All right. All right, well...
It was early Ratatouille.
I'm really happy with my list. You have the weird ones. I feel like I feel like I have the like commercial ones when you think of Disney Renaissance, and you have.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, you ready for patron shoutouts?
Yeah.
QB Stars Music, Boost Competition, Lori, Frank, Rick, Lisa, Evan, Tony. Thank you so much for listening to the tier. Thank you to the shout out. If you like support from Patreon, the link is down in the description. You get the audio episode early, special benefits, cool perks, all that jazz, and more. Thank you sincerely to our Patreon supporters. You ready for cool comments?
Yeah, what we got this time?
Zach Henry posted on our Wakanda Forever episode. Spoilers for Wakanda Forever post-credit scene. Just for cool comments. Just letting everyone know that now. So for the post-credit, he's talking about, you've seen it now, Daniel, right?
Yep.
Okay. About like how they have Chadwick's son, or like T'Challa's son, who's also named T'Challa.
T'Challa Jr., yeah.
Zach Henry said, I highly agree that they farewelled Chadwick Boseman and his character perfectly, especially in the mid-credit scene, how they recasted him without recasting him. Yeah, so we didn't talk about the post-credit scene in our episode because Daniel hadn't seen it at that point. What are your thoughts on that?
I should have just stayed for literally 2 more seconds so I would have seen it.
I know.
But
that's why I was so flabbergasted. You were like, we didn't stay. I was like, bro, it was like right after.
Listen.
Just go, what do you think of it?
Priorities. I think it was really respectful the way that they did it. Again, like I agree with that sentiment of like recasting without recasting in a way. And I really do think it's going to set up a new way for them to have him be Black Panther down the road for the next generation.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are saying like, oh, they're recasting him and it's so early, so they can just keep doing this character. I think it's like it's still a different character. Honestly, I think they named him T'Challa probably to honor the legacy of Chadwick Boseman and that character. Like, I feel like we wouldn't be having this discussion if he was named anything other than T'Challa. Probably. Exactly. I don't know. That's just my thought.
I think it was respectful.
Yeah, me too. Wait for the introduction.
Yeah, tell me when.
When?
We just talked about what we want to talk about. Now we're done.
Thank you so much for listening. We really sincerely, seriously appreciate it. Just a heads up for the next few weeks. We are going to be kind of backlogging a couple episodes, so we might not be the most up to date with all the like news that's being released later in like December because I'm going home for the holidays and I can't bring like my PC back with me to like edit and do everything. So so that being said, just a little schedule of what's ahead sketch. So my like media that inspired me episode, similar to this one for Daniel, will be not next week, but the following. So what is coming next week is since Andor will be done officially. I think it's done by the time this episode goes out, but not in our recording land time. Woo, editing. We're going to review all of the Star Wars content that has come out since Disney acquired Lucasfilm and discuss like if they've done a good job and just kind of review everything. I think that'll be a fun episode.
Especially when we go over the sequels.
And Solo. Yeah. All right. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.